Come, sit here with me for a while. The sun is setting, the frost is settling in, and there's nothing left to do but rest. Perhaps you're already nestled in your bed, or wrapped in a blanket, curled up in your favorite chair. Wherever you are, let your body relax and your mind drift. Come sit with me in this beautiful place, where the troubles of the day melts away. It's a space where time doesn't quite follow its usual rhythm, where everything feels just a little out of place in the most peaceful way, like a fleeting moment between night and day. Can you feel it? The stillness that hangs in the air, the fading light of the sun that has begun to soften everything around us, just before the world completely settles into night, where everything seems to belong and yet nothing feels rushed. In this place, you can simply be. I may be just a bench, but I've been here long enough to know the value of quiet moments like this. The warmth of the sun fades, leaving a cool, soothing embrace of the twilight air. The frost is beginning to creep across the field, each delicate crystal forming with a tender touch. The world, too, is preparing for rest. I remember one evening, not too long ago, when the field was especially quiet, just before nightfall. The sun was dipping low, casting a soft golden glow across the frosty ground, and the air was growing cool with the promise of evening. I could feel the stillness settling in, not only in the world around me, but in the creatures that called this field home. A little fox family wandered close by. There was a mother, her fur a beautiful, rich, fiery red, and her two playful pups, still small and soft, their fur fluffy with youth. The pups were focused on something fluttering in the air, a moth, pale and gentle, its wings glowing in the light of the setting sun. The pups, full of energy and curiosity, tried to catch it, darting and leaping with tiny paws. But the moth was too fast for them. As they jumped and twisted to catch it, they would often end up tripping over each other, tumbling into a pile of fur. They rolled around for a moment, distracted by the fun of it all. They looked like one big golden fluff ball, their little legs tangled in every direction. For a few moments the moth flitted away, forgotten as the pups started pushing and wrestling with each other, their soft bodies tumbling through the grass. The mother fox sat nearby, watching them. Her tail flicked gently, and she kept her distance, knowing they were fine. She didn't rush to stop them. It was as if she, too, was content to let the pups be in their own little world for a while. Eventually, the moth flew higher, out of reach, and the pups lost interest. They stopped, their breath coming fast from the play, and settled down into the grass together, their small bodies curling into each other for warmth. The sun continued to sink, casting a warm, golden light over them as they lay still, and the world around them seemed to slow down, ready for night. That memory stays with me, clear as the frost on the grass. The way the pups tumbled, the sound of their tiny paws against the earth, and the mother's gentle affection. It felt like a moment of pure, simple joy, untouched by anything else. There's also a little insect that lives inside me, a small beetle, dark and quiet, with a glossy, almost metallic shell. It's been living in a small crack in my wood for as long as I can remember, quietly going about its day. I've never seen it, not once, but I know it's there by the tiny, almost imperceptible sounds it makes as it scuttles about in the wood. Every morning, like clockwork, it pushes its way out from its little hideaway, leaving behind tiny, almost invisible trails in the grain of the wood. It spends its days quietly moving through the gaps in the bench, sometimes pausing for long stretches of time, almost as if it's resting too, taking in the peaceful atmosphere. It has its own rhythm, and I like to think it feels the same sense of serenity that I do. Sometimes when the sun begins to sink and the world settles into its quiet hum, I sense it moving again, slipping into its hiding place for the night, as if it, too, is preparing for rest. I've never disturbed it. In a way, it's like an old friend who has settled in, content and calm, within the quiet confines of this place. The beetle and the fox family each have their own quiet little world, and yet they are all part of the same piece. I think that's why I remember them, their lives so small, yet so full of gentle rhythm, just like the evening itself. I remember one of the most special times I've had, when the field was filled with the soft rustling of sheep. It wasn't often that they came, but when they did, it was like the whole place was transformed into a big, cozy gathering. The herder would come with his sheepdog, and every few days he would bring the flock through the field. The sheep would graze here, staying for as long as the grass was plentiful. It was a time of peace, a time when the world felt a little softer. They would settle all around me, their woolly bodies forming a circle of warmth. I remember one night, when the sky was just starting to darken, the herder's gentle voice calling to the sheep, guiding them slowly toward the field. The sheepdog, a quiet, loyal animal, followed behind them, its eyes scanning the grass, making sure no one strayed too far. The herder would sit down nearby, just for a moment, looking at his flock, and everything felt calm. I could hear the sheep's gentle bleating and the soft sound of their hooves on the grass. There was a peacefulness in it, something that made the whole world feel a little slower, a little quieter. And then, as the evening grew cooler, the little lambs would gather near me, curling up together for warmth. I remember one lamb, soft and fuzzy, barely able to walk on its tiny legs, looking up at me with wide, sleepy eyes. It waddled over to where I sat, its nose sniffing the air before it carefully climbed up onto my seat, as though it instinctively knew I was there for them. It settled into a small, cozy spot, and before long it had fallen asleep, its tiny body relaxed, resting against me as if I were a big, warm pillow. The other lambs followed, hopping up one by one, curling together in a soft pile. They were so small, their little bodies twitching every now and then as they fell into sleep, their woolly coats making them feel like little bundles of warmth. The adults would be nearby, lying in the grass, surrounding me like a cozy circle. Their eyes would half close, keeping watch over their young, but they too would drift into peaceful sleep, the quiet of the field wrapping around us all like a warm blanket. It felt like a kind of family gathering, a big, cozy sleepover. And in the morning, when the sun began to rise and touch the field with soft golden light, the herder would be up early, smiling at the sight of his flock, especially the way the lambs had settled around me, as though they felt safe and comfortable in my presence. The sheepdog would be at his side, wagging its tail, as if it too was happy to see the peaceful morning unfold. The lambs, still sleepy, would stretch their little legs and slowly wander off, the woolly bodies of the adults moving with them. The herder would take a moment to look around, his face soft with surprise and joy at how the lambs had made themselves at home, even on the bench. He'd shake his head with a chuckle as if he couldn't quite believe how peaceful it all was. I remember the feeling of those little lambs, so small and warm, curling up beside me. As they drifted into sleep, I could feel their tiny, steady breaths against the wood, the way their bodies relaxed, melting into the moment. It was as if they were saying, "We're safe here, and everything is just as it should be." And when they woke, they would nuzzle each other, their tiny noses brushing softly, before running off to join their mothers in the grassy fields. Even after they left, I could still feel the warmth of their little bodies, the memory of their softness lingering in the cool morning air. It's a memory that stays with me, those quiet, peaceful nights with the sheep and lambs and the herder's smile in the morning. I felt so content, being part of that gentle rhythm. The world felt kind and slow, a place where everyone, whether sheep or lamb, could rest easy, knowing that the quiet of the field would always be there, waiting to wrap them in peace. We also have the ants. During the day, the field around us comes to life with their tiny, tireless movements. They live not too far from me, their nest tucked deep beneath the earth. I often watch them in my stillness as they scurry about in perfect, quiet harmony, each one with a task, each one with a purpose. They move like a soft, rhythmic tide, seemingly endless, but always careful, always deliberate. You see, their nest is built in a small hill, just at the edge of the field where the grass grows a little taller. And though the workers are small, their purpose is mighty. Some of them gather food, some patrol the perimeter of the nest, and others, those that are trusted and strong, carry bits of leaves, seeds and crumbs back to the nest, creating an invisible trail that connects the world around them to their home beneath the earth. I often see them in the morning, when the air is cool and crisp and the world is still waking up. They appear like little specks of motion, a blur of black against the soft green of the field. They're in constant motion, always going, always working. They never seem to tire, their legs moving so quickly that it's almost hard to keep track of where one starts and the other ends. They are a single, focused being made up of countless small bodies, each one playing its part in the great, quiet orchestra of their world. I watch them, sitting here on my bench, nestled in this peaceful place. And sometimes when people come and sit on me, they unknowingly leave behind crumbs or bits of food, fragments of their snacks, their meals, or perhaps an unwrapped piece of candy they've forgotten. It's in these moments that the ants' world becomes a little bit more connected to mine. When the people leave, the field grows quieter and the sun begins to set. The ants arrive. It's as if they know. They find the smallest crumbs, the tiniest morsels that have been left behind. They swarm to them in perfect unison. Their tiny legs move quickly, their antennae flickering as they smell and taste the air, finding their way to the treasure left on my wooden surface. Sometimes it's a few crumbs of bread or a piece of fruit that's fallen unnoticed from someone's picnic. Sometimes it's the tiny remains of a sandwich or a piece of sweet, sticky cake. The ants don't hesitate. They don't pause to wonder or question. They simply go to work, breaking down the food into tiny pieces and carrying it back to their nest, where it will feed them and their queen for days to come. The sight of them working together is beautiful, in its own small way. They move in lines, each one carrying something small and important, like a piece of a puzzle being carefully placed in its spot. I've watched them for hours, the sun dipping lower in the sky, the air turning soft and cool as the ants work tirelessly to collect what's been left for them. I don't mind the little disturbances. I understand their need, their drive. After all, I'm here to observe, to witness the world's quiet movements, whether they're the delicate rustling of the grass in the wind or the busy, determined activity of the ants. I am, in many ways, a silent witness to their lives, and in return, they bring me small moments of connection to the world around me. When the food is gone and the ants have taken their share, they return to their nest, carrying the last crumbs back into the dark, cool tunnels beneath the earth. I sometimes wonder if they're aware of how much I see of their work, how much I watch from my quiet place. They don't seem to notice me, just as they don't notice the people who leave the food behind. And yet, there's a certain peaceful connection in that, in knowing that we all share this space, this moment in time, even if we don't always acknowledge it. The ants never rush. They don't hurry to finish their task, as if they know that the day will come again when they'll need to be ready. And as the night deepens, the quiet of the field settles in, and the world grows still once more. The sun has gone, and the stars now shine brightly above us. The ants, their task complete for now, retreat back into the quiet of their mound, where the earth is cool and peaceful. They rest, as most creatures do, in the calm of the night. I, too, feel the peace of the night settling around me. The last light of day fades, and the field falls silent. The cool air embraces the world, and I sit here on my bench, watching as everything comes to rest. The ants are tucked away in their nest, the leaves have stopped rustling, and the stars above shine softly in the velvet sky. It's in these quiet moments, when the world has slowed, that I feel the true peace of this place. The ants may be busy during the day, but at night everything is still. The field, the nest, and even the bench, where people have come and gone, are part of the same rhythm of the world. All is connected, all is at rest, and the gentle pulse of the night surrounds us, wrapping us in its quiet embrace. And then we have the owl. Always present in the night, it has its rituals, quiet and steady, moving through the hours with the grace of something ancient and known. Every night it finds its perch, settles into the stillness, and watches over the world below. There's no rush, no hurry, just the soft rhythm of its being as it carries out its gentle duty in the calm darkness. As the stars twinkle overhead and the field below settles into silence, the owl remains still, perched high in the branches of an old tree. The night is its time to be awake, its wide, wise eyes taking in everything around it. There's no need to chase or move fast. The owl feels the peace of the night all around it. The cool, crisp air that touches its feathers, the soft rustling of leaves, the distant hum of the world settling into sleep. The owl's wings, strong and silent, fold neatly against its sides as it sits there, watching the field below. Its sharp eyes scan the land, but there's no hurry. Occasionally, it catches a mouse or hears the flutter of a bat moving through the air, but it doesn't rush. There's no need for anything to disturb the peaceful stillness. The owl is content to simply be, wrapped in the comfort of the quiet night. Sometimes it tilts its head slightly, listening for the soft sounds of the field, the whisper of wind through the grass, the gentle call of a far-off bird, or the rustle of leaves as a deer moves quietly through the underbrush. But mostly the owl just sits, letting the peace of the night fill its heart, feeling no need to disturb the calm. The moonlight dances softly on the trees, casting long shadows that stretch across the field, and the owl watches it all, feeling a deep, serene connection with the world around it. The night is not just a time of waiting, it's a time of reflection. The owl rests, knowing that in its own quiet way, it is a part of the night's story. It doesn't need to do anything but be present, be awake, and watch over the still world below. And so the owl stays in its tree, watching the stars slowly shift in the sky, listening to the night's sounds, and feeling the peace that only the quiet, still hours can bring. The world may be asleep, but for the owl the night is full of quiet beauty and gentle moments, and there's nowhere else it would rather be. One night, just as the final moments of night slipped away, I noticed a little figure emerging from the shadows. It was a hedgehog, small and round, its prickly coat blending softly with the damp earth. It had been busy all night, perhaps foraging and exploring, but now, as the soft light of dawn crept over the field, it seemed ready to find a place to rest. The hedgehog moved slowly and deliberately, its tiny paws brushing over the cool grass as it made its way closer to where I sat. I could see how its small body twitched with tiny movements, each step quiet and careful as it scurried toward me. The night's chill still clung to the air, and I could feel the soft touch of the cool breeze that had settled over the field. The hedgehog's little nose sniffed the ground, sensing the perfect place to rest. And then it paused, its sharp, dark eyes glancing around. It found a patch of tall grass and soft leaves under my bench, just under the shelter of some low-hanging branches and twigs. The leaves were thick and damp with the dew from the night, and the long grass swayed gently in the morning air. The hedgehog shuffled around a bit, digging its little paws into the earth, trying to find the perfect cozy spot. It seemed so focused on its task, moving leaves and twigs with quiet determination, as if it knew that the right spot would make all the difference for a peaceful rest. Once it had found the perfect spot, the hedgehog nestled down into the soft, damp bed it had created. Its prickly coat wasn't as sharp as it looked. Instead, it softened against the cool earth and the pile of leaves. It curled up tightly, tucking its tiny nose beneath its spiky body, creating a little ball of warmth in the growing coolness of the morning. The leaves settled around it like a blanket, and the hedgehog seemed to melt into its tiny nest. I could hear the soft rustling of the leaves as the hedgehog made itself comfortable. Its little paws twitched, and it let out a tiny sigh, as if it was finally content and ready to sleep. I watched as it curled even tighter, its body forming a soft, round ball, almost hidden among the long grass and fallen leaves. Everything around it seemed to become quieter still. The hedgehog's rhythmic breathing slowed, and soon it was deep in sleep. Above, the sky was lightening, the first hints of pink and lavender spilling across the horizon as the sun prepared to rise. But for now, the field was still, with the cool air settling in around us. I could almost feel the peace of the moment, a quiet stillness that enveloped everything. The hedgehog, safe and warm in its little nook, seemed to be perfectly at home in the soft embrace of the earth. And as I sat there, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of peace too. The world was beginning to stir, the birds starting to sing softly in the distance, but for now it was the hedgehog's time to rest. Its tiny body, curled up in its little nest of leaves, was like a small, peaceful reminder of how important it is to find comfort, to rest when you need it, and to feel safe in the stillness of the world around you. The soft rustling of the leaves and the gentle hum of the morning were the only sounds that filled the air as the hedgehog drifted into a peaceful sleep, its tiny breaths rising and falling in the quiet. It was the perfect end to the night and the peaceful beginning of a new day. I've stood here for many years, watching the world shift with the rhythm of the seasons. Each one touches me in its own way, changing not just the landscape around me, but also how I feel. The wind, the rain, the sun, they all leave their mark. Some seasons are kind, others more demanding, but all of them shape who I am. When spring comes, the world feels like it's waking up. The frost melts, and tiny green shoots begin to push through the soil. The air turns soft and damp, and I can feel the warmth of the sun spreading over me. It's a gentle awakening, a soft touch after the cold. But spring brings moisture. The rain falls often, soaking into my wooden slats. My frame feels the dampness, stretching and shifting as if the earth itself is sighing with relief. Sometimes the rain is gentle, other times heavy, but it's always a reminder that life is beginning again. My wood swells slightly, soaking in the water. It's a tender moment, but I know the warmth of the sun will soon follow. I can't say I have a favourite season, but spring is always refreshing. It's a time for new beginnings, a time when I feel a little lighter, a little more alive as everything around me grows. Summer arrives with the full force of the sun. Its heat soaks into my wood, drying me out and causing small cracks in my frame. The air is thick, warm and full of life. I feel the vibrations of people coming and going, the laughter of children, the hum of bees. It's a busy, vibrant time, and while I enjoy the energy, the sun's intensity can be harsh. The long days bring heat, and the sun's rays are relentless. Sometimes I feel like I'm about to crack under the pressure, but there's something about summer's energy that fills me with warmth. The evening air cools me down, and I feel the world slow as the sun sets, painting everything in a golden light. There's a sense of freedom in summer, but also a quiet weariness as the season presses on. Though summer isn't my favourite, I appreciate its warmth. It's a time to bask in the glow of the sun, to hold all the energy around me before the world starts to slow. As summer fades, autumn takes its place. The cool breeze brings a welcome relief from the heat. The sun still shines, but it's softer now, bathing everything in a golden glow. The leaves turn red, orange and yellow, slowly drifting to the ground, and I can feel the weight of them as they land on my wooden slats. The air becomes crisp, and I find a certain peace in this. My wood begins to relax after the tension of summer, and I feel the shift in the world around me. People still come to sit, but the pace of life slows. The coolness of autumn is gentle, like a soft hand resting on my frame. Autumn feels like a moment of quiet reflection. The earth is slowing down, preparing for rest, and I too feel the pull to settle in. It's a time for peace, for enjoying the quiet moments before the cold comes. There's something comforting in this change, and it feels like the world is taking a deep breath. When winter comes, everything goes still. The world feels frozen, and the air is sharp. The sun is pale, casting long, soft shadows over the landscape. The snow falls in a quiet blanket, covering everything, and I can feel its weight on my wood. The cold makes me stiff and tight, and my joints ache from the freeze. Winter is hard on me. The cold air makes my wood contract, and I feel the strain in every slat. The frost collects in my cracks, and the snow piles up, a reminder of the stillness all around me. But there's a beauty in it too. The world is calm, almost as if it's holding its breath. The silence is deep, and the stars shine more brightly in the cold, clear night. Though winter is tough, it's also a time for quiet reflection. The earth rests, the world slows down, and I stand firm in the stillness. It's a reminder that everything needs a break, and the cold is part of the cycle that leads to renewal. Each season touches me in different ways, but they all teach me something. Spring brings life, summer fills me with energy, autumn offers peace, and winter brings stillness. I can't pick a favourite. Each season has its own beauty, its own rhythm. Some seasons are harder than others, but I stand here, weathered and worn, watching the world change with them. Through it all, I remain steady, a quiet witness to the cycle of life. The seasons pass, and I change with them. And as I stand here, year after year, I learn to appreciate the quiet transitions, the soft shifts in the air, the gentle pressure of time as it moves through the world. It's a reminder that everything has its time to grow, to rest, to bloom, and to pause. And in each season, I feel that peace. And now, dear listener, I invite you to take a moment, feel the comfort of this place, the way the quiet wraps itself around you like a warm blanket, soft and peaceful. Just as the foxes, the hedgehogs, the ants, and all the others have found rest here, so can you. This place is yours too, a haven where you can pause, take a breath, and let the world slow down. The seasons will continue to turn, the animals will come and go, but in this stillness there's always room for you, a place to pause, a place to rest, a place where time feels gentle and all the noise fades into the background. As the world moves around you, let this space be your quiet refuge, a constant in the ever-changing rhythms of life. Just like the creatures I've known, you are always welcome here. Take this moment to rest, to feel your body relax and your mind unwind. You've found your place here, just as they have, wrapped in peace, in stillness, and in the gentle embrace of this place. Here you are safe, you are cared for, and you are always welcome. I invite you to take a moment just for yourself. Let go of the worries of the day and feel the quiet embrace of this place surrounding you. Picture yourself settling in, as the world outside becomes softer, slower. This is your moment, a pause in time where there is nothing to do but breathe and be. The world may keep turning, the seasons will continue to shift, and the animals will come and go. But in this stillness, there will always be room for you. Here, there's a place to let go, a space to find comfort, and a gentle invitation to rest.